Remember the simpler times of high school sweethearts and promises of forever? Picture this: a young couple, barely out of their teens, embarking on the journey of marriage, fueled by youthful optimism and the illusion of invincibility. But this story is no fairy tale. This is a tale of a marriage that ended with the husband nearly urinating on the wife's head. Yes, you heard that right. Rewind to the early days when they were just 16 and love was a sweet intoxicant. He was always a heavy drinker, but when he enlisted in the military after graduation, he swore off alcohol unless he was on leave and it wouldn't interfere with his duties. But when he drank hard. As they neared their 21st birthdays, the drinking started to become more frequent. The day he finally hit the legal drinking age, it was as if the gates of excess had been flung wide open. He'd finish a grueling 24-hour shift and immediately reach for a beer or pour himself a stiff vodka. Often she'd leave for work in the morning, not knowing what she'd find when she returned. They'd go out with friends, and he'd drink to the point of oblivion every time. Or he'd go out while she was at work, returning home reeking of vomit, barely coherent, eyes half closed. And who was there to pick up the pieces? She was, holding a bucket for him to vomit into, tucking him in, making sure he didn't choke. Often she knew he had alcohol poisoning, but couldn't risk his career by seeking medical help. Instead, she spent countless nights watching over him. On the nights she dared to sleep, she'd be awakened by the sight of him crawling across the floor, retching and naked, trying to reach the bathroom. And who cleaned up the mess? She did, while he slept off his stupor. Through it all, she stood by him, offering help, suggesting counseling, having countless discussions about his drinking. But he refused to see it as a problem. He insisted it was normal. And then came that fateful night that shattered the illusion of their marriage once and for all. She had moved into the spare room by then, needing space after a traumatic incident. A friend was staying over, so she shared her room with him. He came home late, drunk as usual, stumbling and crashing around the house. She tried to ignore it, to go back to sleep, until she was woken up by the sound of urine hitting the pillow behind her head. In shock, she jumped out of bed to see him, naked and drunk, urinating on the bed. She yelled at him to stop, her voice shaking. In response, he slurred at her to calm down, one hand gesturing dismissively, the other still holding his privates, still urinating. That was the breaking point. She yelled back, "I'm done. I can't do this anymore." And with those words, she made the decision that would end their marriage. It was a decision born out of strength, out of a determination to no longer be the victim of his reckless behavior. It was the moment she chose herself over a toxic relationship. It was the moment she chose to walk away. And in that moment, she found her freedom.